fraction of a cent to print the note that you call $100 bill. But making money isn't difficult. It is not difficult. One of the things I used to do in 74, I come over here, and I was doing therapy in those days. And in December and January, I couldn't earn any money in Queensland because the whole place shut down mentally. You know, I just couldn't earn any money. So I still had budget, still had to, feed the kids, keep May reasonably happy. So I'm thinking one day, what am I going to do here? Next door neighbour says, I've got to do this back garden of mine. What do you mean do it? He said, I've got to, dig it up. You're your tree? December, you're going to go out there and dig the garden? You're your absolute little cotton-picking tree. Then I discovered he was Australian. And proved the first... No, I'm teasing. And so he was going to go out and dig. I said, why do you do that? Why don't you call somebody in and get them to do it for you? So he went looking for somebody to do it and couldn't find anybody. And I thought, whoa, maybe there's I wonder how many other people are looking for the gardens dug. So I put an advert in the paper. Rotary hoe your garden, back garden, front garden, cheap. And the phone rang off the hook. Well, here was the problem. A, I didn't have a rotary hoe. B, if I had one, I wouldn't know how to run it. C, if I had one and somebody taught me how to run it, how was I going to get it to the place where the person wanted the garden dug? I had to solve all these problems. So I kept making these appointments for people on Friday. Oh, I can't do it Monday. I'm totally booked out on Monday. No, sorry, I can't do it Wednesday. Totally booked out on Wednesday. Got Friday's okay. So I then had to go out and hire a rotary hoe, hire a trailer to drag it on, and then somebody said, well, you're going to need a tow bar in your car. What's a tow bar? Very technical I was. So I had to go and get a tow bar in the car. And that's how, for 2 years, I earned money, just December and January, to feed the family. Now, there are some places, I've got to tell you, where when I've cut or dug their garden with this rotary hoe, that it's cut the water pipe and I've repaired it. Took a little rubber and a couple of Jubilee clips and I fixed it. I hate to be down the road 10 years when that rotted and anyway. So actually earning money isn't difficult. In the first instance, what you ought to do is control the money you've got and then look for second ways to get secondary income. Let's have a see. What I say, most people can make money. We can, it's easy. Making money is the easy part. Hanging on to it's the difficult part. The part that most people find difficult. Vast majority of people never do what I've just done. Why? Because this process that you're involved in right now is only 5 to 7 years old. This movement of teaching people to think out the square, to get involved in property when they didn't have any money, when teaching them how to do upside down loans and property, teaching them to use the asset base of the property, teaching them to do all of the items that you're hearing about that you didn't know how to do in the past, is only a relatively recent phenomenon. I couldn't understand it. I would have people at ITP, 28 years it was, and I had people coming in, and I'd say to them, well, have you done this? No. Well, why don't you do that? Why would I do that? Well, it's going to save you some money, save you tax. You need to organise this, do that. Can I do that? Yeah, you can do anything you want as long as you organise it correctly. Oh, but I don't know how to run a company. Get a grip of yourself. We'll teach you. And you talk about people that get into stocks and shares, you've got to understand that when you start doing something different from wage earning, You want to try and make sure that you don't pay an overly generous amount of tax. Now, I hear some of you thinking, but what will the country do if we don't take our share and pay tax? Those are the idiots. Now, have you any idea why you pay tax? Anybody? Shout out, because we don't have a microphone. Bollocks to that. That's not the reason why you pay tax. Who said? Foreign debt? Bollocks. Garbage. What? Who said? Now, you've just come through the election process. Politicians' wages, well, it's not really even that. Because they existed. Now, think about it. Now, come on, all of you. Doesn't matter which political party you're in, right? What did both of them do on the run-up to the election? What did they do? Promised money. Whose money were they promising to give you? Yours. Let me ask you another question. Could this country exist without income tax? Really? Yep. Well, the last it says infrastructure. How are we going to get the infrastructure? How are we going to pay for the things that we all want? This country is over 200 years old, isn't it? When did the people in this country start to pay income tax? Anybody know? Whoa, who said that? Louder. 1913. Wait a minute. That can't be right. Didn't we have roads before that? Of course we did. So we had infrastructure from 1776 to 1913. Wow. I never knew that. So the country actually existed and we weren't getting charged income tax? Wow. I didn't know that either. Ching. So why are we charged income tax? The real reason you're charged income tax is to keep you poor. Don't give me that crap. I was never a prisoner of Mother England. I'm Scottish. You know the only good thing to ever come out of England? Road to Scotland. Now, no, I've got to be serious. Do you know why the sun... do you know... You're just getting... Do you know why the sun never set in the English Empire? Because God didn't trust those bastards in the dark. We call London yon wicked city. Okay, sorry. I digress. The reason you pay income tax... Oh, let me go back and ask you a question. Anybody any idea whose idea graduated income tax is?
Karl Marx.
Absolutely correct. Karl Marx. It's a plank of the Communist Manifesto. And every Western country in the world is doing it. And the reason they're doing it is to A, control you, B, dish out the money to the people that they consider should have it. Now, you're going to see it's going to be fun in the next 6 years. Why do I say 6 years? Because it'll take 6 years for the average Aussie to get absolutely peed off with this particular party. Anybody ever read the book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, a Canadian guy? Just a little book. He says, the more you are, the closer you are to the top of the political pile, the more they are the same. He called them demopubs. Not Democrats and Republicans, demopubs. Because they're the same at the top. And I've got news for you. Jude Hawke made a comment one time. And he was at a dinner party. A friend of mine was at it. And they had just won an election. It wasn't his, and I can't remember which one it was. They just won. And they were celebrating the fact that they were in power and they were going to change things. And Hawke says to them, they're going to find out shortly that they can change nothing. When Reagan got into the White House, here these political appointees. He says to this one guy, you're in charge of this area. This is what I want to happen. Go fix it. So he walks in and he says to the department, this is what I want done. Let's get a committee to look at that. No, we want it done. Oh, well, we need to think about it. See what ramifications are involved. No, we want it done. After 6 months, he walks into a meeting, blows his stack and says, I want this done. And the people that run their governments, which are the gnomes back there behind the scene, said to him, you don't understand. You're only here for 4 years. We are here for the rest of our lives. We're not doing that. And do you think we're any different? We're not any different. And the reason you should be wealthy is so that you can do whatever the heck you want without having to lean on anybody else. Let me talk to you about another thing, and maybe see if you get what I'm going at. In this country, they sold us the fact that there was 1 million people out of the 20 million that were here, and the 13 million that actually work. No, 13 million are a place of employment. If you ever work out, if anybody is in business for themselves, work it out quickly. You have paid an employee 13 months' money, and you get 11 months' attendance. Think about that for a second. 13, 11. There's something wrong there. Anyway, so where was I? What was I saying? Where was I going with that? Read my mind quickly. My wife does it. Why can't she? What was I talking about? What did I say? Yes, Minister. You need to give me a bit more information than that. What was? Oh, Bob. He said, you can't change. You'll suddenly realize that you can't change. They can posture, they can do what they want, they can say what they want, but those people behind the scenes are the people that control the government. The Reserve Bank, I mean, both politicians are shooting at one another because the interest rate going up. They don't control it. They don't control it. Having a hope in hell of controlling it. While we're talking about that, do you know the Reserve Bank 2 weeks ago put $1.44 billion into our economy? America in the same week put $48 billion on a Tuesday into the economy, and $46 billion, and then 2 days later, $48 billion. Things are a bit rocky. You've got to be cognizant of what's going on around about you. Get yourself a little more liquid if you can. Now, if you can't be among the latter group that make good money, and if you don't want to be among that latter group, you wouldn't be here. You want to do something that changes your dichotomy, changes your thinking, changes how you action things, and see if you can find a way where you can get a little extra. Because most of us aren't looking for a hell of a lot of money. You know, they did a survey in the States, and they found that for people to be really happy, all they needed was an extra $400 a month. That's not a lot, $100 a week. Put your hand up if you smoke, please. Do you tell me how much you smoke a week? I'm not having a go at you, I'm just asking that number. But it's $70. You see, I don't smoke. Bust into flames occasionally, but I never smoke. Okay, look at this. This is from actuarial tables, insurance tables. 100 men, 25-year-old, we track them through till they are 65. Here's how that plays out. One man, one individual, and bear in mind when I say men, you know what I mean. One individual is independently wealthy. Is that you? That's got to be your goal. 5 are independently rich. That means they don't really, when they go into a restaurant, they only look at the food that's presented. They don't look at the right-hand side of the menu. Well, the numbers are. They don't need to worry about that. Buy whatever the hell they want. 15 will still be working. Here's the good news. 24 will be dead. None of you are in that category yet. None of you have assumed room temperature, have you? Just give the person a nudge beside you. Make sure they're still here. Here's the troubling one. 55 will be dead broke. And those are the people that governments want to take your money and give it to them. You know, there's a direct relationship between the amount of money that a government takes from you in taxes and the amount of money that you guys and me will give to charity. The more they take from us, the less we give to charity. Now, you think about this for a second, too. We're back to the 20 million people we're talking about. 1 million people didn't have health care. Do you remember the story on this? We've got to bring the Medibank levy in because there's 1 million people in this country don't have medical cover. And so every one of us has to pay the penalty there. But that doesn't even be even and honourable where we all pay the same amount. No. The more you earn, the more you're going to pay. And then 10 years down the road, a funny thing happened. People stopped getting into private health cover. Now, I'm the Scotsman. Tell me why the people weren't in private health cover. Tell me why they were dropping out of private health cover. Now, the politicians can't work this out, by the way. Tell me why they're all dropping out of health cover. Because they didn't have deductions, garbage. They didn't have to pay for it? Do you mean they were paying for it already, you mean? They were paying for it by the Medicare levy? And they stopped paying the health care because they're paying for it twice if they did that? That's what the people thought, wasn't it? And the government couldn't figure out why people didn't want to have private health care. Let me see. And we elect them. We elect them. Do you know, in the States, Oregon, the Parliament meets 6 months every 2 years. There are less laws in Oregon than any other state in the States. And those guys have a job. Okay, have you made up your mind which one you want to be? You better have made up your mind. So we know that you haven't, if you're here, you haven't assumed room temperature. You're still with us. You're not the 24%. So it means nothing to you. But the 55 could if you don't change your dichotomy, change your attitude. Now, how about this? Does that sound right? Okay. But what if it's your fate not to assume room temperature before you're 65? What's going to happen? Well, if you're really good and have a job, we'll get your employer to pay your pension for you. Isn't that good? How are you going to live? I don't know. Now here I'm going to frighten the spit out of you. Piece of paper, everybody. Pencil, piece of paper. Let's forget about the niceties like inflation, interest. Here's the question. Take the number of dollars that you would like to retire on. Just pick a number, make it round number, okay? 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, just 25,000, whatever your number is. Write it down. Right? There's your maths that you're going to do. You're going to divide it by 100. Sorry, divide it by 10, multiply it by 100. Okay? And I've used 50,000 in this example. Did anybody put 50,000 down? Sir, would you tell me what your answer is? Your 50,000 divided by 10 multiplied by 100. You worked it out? What's the answer? That 10% represented the interest rate that you get from the bank just by putting the money in the bank. But you all know you're not going to get 10%, don't you? So let's half it. Let's say it's 5%. And we're doing this this is rough, remember. You might want to go 5.5% and really work it out. Okay? The real interest rate is near 5%. That means you would need, when you retire, $1 million in the bank. And that $1 million would return you the $50,000 a year from the interest. Now, we're not even talking about the amount of tax you're going to pay, what the inflation rate would be. Just forget that for a moment. Just take them bare numbers. Does that scare you? Does it scare you? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever looked at that before in raw and said, how much do I need to have when I retire? You now know. The next question is, you've got that number, put down beside it what your net worth is right now. Everybody know what net worth is? What you own less what you owe. Okay, let's talk about what you need to do when you get what you've got to make sure you don't lose what you've got. There's a number of ways of making sure that you're okay. There's some simple strategies. And let me tell you what the basic thought pattern is, first of all. You can do everything in your own name if you wish. There's not a problem there. However, if you're into property, there are problems with capital gains tax. Now, I hate tax. I hate it with passion. So I organize my life to make sure I pay the least possible legal amount of tax. So, if I were going to buy a property, I would buy it in a company. Because I'm going to do multiple properties. And if I'm doing multiple properties, those are my stock in trade. There's no capital gain on stock in trade. Real estate guy isn't going to be charged capital gain for the houses he buys and sells. You think about that. If you're into stocks and shares, you need to build a little timeline in your mind. First thing you need to decide is, can I do this and can I make money at it? Well, you need to do it for a little time to find out. So go ahead and do your paper trading up the wazoo till you get to the stage where you say, I'm going to have to try this for real. And then what happens is the dichotomy there changes because you're using real money. And you stop obeying the rules. So you've got to learn the rules. Write the rules down and say, this is how I'm going to run. Okay. So you ask yourself, should I buy and sell the stocks and shares in a company or in my own name? You can do it in either. However, Scotsman, remember, not going to spend money if I can possibly help it. Only spend money in life-threatening situations, okay? There's no need to agree with me, you know. So, in the first instance, stocks and shares, you would buy and sell them in your own name. You're going to get caught with capital gains in that. But what you're going to look for is a magic number, about $7,000 worth of income. Because at that point, then the cost of setting up a company, and the capital gain you're going to pay here, and the cost of setting up the company are going to be about the same. So if you're found after $7,000, this works for you, and you're going to keep on doing it, then get a company and do it in a company because you're not going to pay the capital gains. Do you see that? Yes. This means yes. This means no. This means I really don't care. I'm too tired. Are you tired, by the way? Yes, no, maybe. Why don't you stand up, turn around and sit down. Just get your feet off get your bum off the seat and just turn around. So asset protection has got a lot to do with what your intent was and where you're going. So stocks and shares, if you're going to do that, play with the stocks and shares till you've actually earned some money over a particular period of time. Once it gets to about $7,000, hold that in your head, you should then think about doing it in a company because the costing then will balance out, okay? Okay, now, structures for asset protection, when you think of it, the best structure is husband and wife, the partnership between a husband and wife. The sad thing about this is you've got maneuverability, flexibility, tax effectiveness, but The main reason against doing the husband and wife partnership is the 40% rule. Who knows what happens 40%? Yes. Now, I had this gorgeous couple. They got a business that was worth about the same as the house. So I set him up to own the business, and I set her up owning the house. She was the only person that owned the house. He was the only person that owned the business. So I said to him, now what happens if, unfortunately, if you go down the divorce path, you don't need to involve lawyers. You just walk away with the business, and you just walk away with the house. Is that okay? Yes. Do you see that? Yes. Does it make sense? Yes. Great. And 10 years down the road, they have a divorce and a hell of a fight. And the lawyers get involved. And she gets the house less the lawyer's fees, and he gets the business less the lawyer's fees. So I've actually got the two of them sitting in the office. And I said, you really didn't go and get lawyers, did you? And they said, yes. There's nothing I can do to help somebody that just puts a gun to their own head. You never use, you know what lawyers are, don't you? I mean, let me give you an example of lawyers. There's this lawyer, he's interviewing, there's got this guy in the stand who's, what do you call it, he's the guy that dissects the body, not mortician, what do you call him, the Quincy? Coroner, right? And he says to the coroner, it's Alzheimer's disease, relax. And he's talking to the guy, and he says to the lad, now, did you do the autopsy on Mrs. Jones? Yes. Was she dead? It's a true story. Was she dead? Yes. How did you know? What? How did you know? Did you check her pulse? No. Did you flash a light in her eye to see if there's any reaction to the pupils? No. How did you know she was dead? Her brain was on my other table. But was she dead? And this poor old guy, who's totally frustrated by this conversation, says, well, no. In retrospect, I think she's practicing law in another state. You can't understand the way they think. So Mrs. Jones was murdered. Yes. Where did you find her? In the basement. How did you get into the basement? Through the door. How many entrances were there to the basement? One. Which one did you use? The one and only one. And how did you get down in the basement? Went down the stairs. And you found the body in the basement? Yes. How did you get out of the basement? These are true stories. I went up the stairs and out the door. Which door? Any lawyers here tonight? You know, if you have 13 lawyers in the room, how many opinions you have? 26. 2 bob each way. Okay, let me give you a bit of history here. Partnerships developed because back in antiquity in Britain, they found a peculiar thing was happening. The rules of a partnership is that each person is severally and jointly responsible for the debts of the others. Now, let me put that in plain English. That means that if these 3 good people here were in partnership, all right? Sorry, what's your first name? Brendan. Brendan, Karen, and Leslie. They're in partnership. Now, Brendan has a castle. Beautiful castle, owns it outright. Madam doesn't, she has a racehorse and that's it, right? Let's see, and you're stony broke. You just had the money that you had in your hand. So they go into partnership together. And something happens to the business. It goes belly up. Well, the lass here only lost the money she put in. This lass, they sold the racehorse on her and put the money to the debts of the partnership. And this guy lost his castle. Disproportionate to the losses of each individual. Can you see that? but they're severally and jointly responsible for the debt. If we do it another way, this young man and I go into partnership together. And he lives in Perth and I never see him. And while he's over in Perth, he buys $1 million yacht. And you ought to see it. It's a big one. Wasted, right, okay. He buys this yacht. The company goes, the business goes belly up. Guess what happens to my net worth because he's got to pay off the yacht? I've got to pay off the yacht. He doesn't have any assets. It comes out of my assets. Now, I've got to tell you something. I don't mind making mistakes that cost me money. But I object to other people making mistakes that cost me money. Now, I used to be a multi-millionaire. Then I got married and I'm only a millionaire. Anyway. Oh, come on. That was worth a little more than that. So the downside is the fact that you're severally and jointly responsible. The upside is that there's a lot of maneuverability in a partnership, right? However, the downside, this is what caused the governments around 1600, 1620, something like that, to make this thing called a company. Now, most of you, I take it, have seen the home videos, the DVDs. So somebody tell me what a company is. How about that? You really did watch. Good. A company is a person that never dies. Think about that for a second, because that's important. That means that the wealth of that company can go on through generations. But the important thing that they did with the company, and this was, you've heard the common law? Yes, this means yes. And you've heard of admiralty law? Admiralty law is the laws they pass in Parliament. That's admiralty law. And so your companies are admiralty law. Okay? And the important thing about the company was the limited liability concept. So again, we have the three people go into a partnership in it, but they go in using a company. And the three of them become directors. The thing goes belly up, and they lose $1, $1, and $1, and whatever other money they put in to help, but their personal assets, it was designed to protect their personal assets. But what have our bankers done today to obviate that particular little safeguard? Anybody know? Directors' guarantees. Never, if you can possibly avoid it, sign a director's guarantee. If we're talking about that, never ever go guarantor for somebody else on anything. Let me tell you, money changes people. Money changes people. You think about that for a second. Don't go guarantor and don't sign director's guarantees if you can help it. Your task when you get involved in this sort of thing is, in the first instance, you're going to have to sign director's guarantees. But your whole being, you should be working to getting out of it. So why don't most people use a partnership? Because of the 40% rule. Second best structure, I've gone through that with you. And you've got to have people with a brain that decide not to bring in the lawyers, and that doesn't happen if they're not switched on, right? You can do this. And when you do this, one of the things you should try and do is don't let the bank know, never let the bank know what the whole asset situation. If you've got two properties, don't tell them, if you're looking for a loan from them, don't tell them you've got two properties. You know, you want a $500,000 loan and you get two properties worth $1 million. Guess what they'll do? They'll ask you for both properties. Wait a minute, you only wanted $500,000. And they take $2 million. Don't tell them! So again, the husband owns the business, the wife owns the family home. Other property is owned jointly between them, right? Now, I'm pushing this so that you think ahead. You're not thinking of one property of the family home. You're thinking of multiple properties. Where down the road you're using the leverage that you can to make it work for you. But try, if you're going for a loan for the bank, only to give them site of the one property for the loan and make it about the same worth as the loan that you're looking for. You can have other structures. Simple. Business, trust, unit trust, hybrid trust.